Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. And we have with us Martin Woolley from What's Possible Group. Martin's a veteran of the media world and has over 35 years' experience, starting in press sales, then moving into the agency world and eventually heading up What's Possible Group. He's also founded the Alliance of Media Independents, and I'm very excited to have him on. And Martin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Gareth. Lovely to be here.
No worries. So, we've had a quick intro there, but if you could just tell us a little bit more about your background and your career so far in the media industry.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, in terms of career background, it's all media, really. Unless you want to hear about me selling books on foil in Foyle's bookshop on Charing Cross Road in 1989. Let's just stick with the media bit of it. As you say, I fell into ad sales as so many do, which felt like a really fun place to be, especially back in the kind of early 90s in magazines and newspapers. A brilliant place to learn about different aspects of the media world, but also benefit from working from some large organisations like Reed and News International as was to get an education in media and marketing more generally, and getting some qualifications and so on. Um, but never big companies never really suited me. That wasn't I wasn't right for that environment. I think I probably didn't realize it at the time, but I had an entrepreneurial streak, which kind of came out as I started dealing with a small company that worked in the unlikely area of media inserts. Um, and I just loved the vibe. It was as entrepreneurial as you can imagine. Um, I think there were maybe six people in the business when I first started dealing with them. They were buying inventory from me at the time. And it just felt like everyone wanted to turn up to work and they were excited about what they were going to do next. And I just thought, I want a bit of that. So I joined that almost 20 years ago now, amazingly. And that has since become the Specialist Works and expanded into What's Possible Group. And we built almost kind of brick by brick, specialism by specialism, what I believe now is one of the best comms-led media planning and buying agencies in the country. And because we are entrepreneurial, we did all kinds of other things as well. So we've launched other agencies. We've got into areas like Amazon. We do creative as well as media. So it's been a super interesting journey, and I get to meet people like you as well. So can't be bad, eh?
It's an absolute pleasure, of course. We're enjoying working with the Specialist Works at the moment, and it's been great journey so far with you guys.
I
So
totally agree. Our team love your team. It's brilliant.
fabulous. It's very interesting you mentioned. So What's Possible Groups, obviously, you guys have expanded massively. You've got quite a presence here in London. How big's the team?
Overall, across the group, we're about 120-ish people.
Wow. Yeah, fabulous.
So so it's reasonably large, and we're kind of on the larger side. Most of those people are in the Specialist Works. That's our flagship business.
Definitely.
So I think we're a nice size now. There's pretty much nothing that we can't find a way to deliver to clients at a higher standard, but it still feels a bit family.
Yeah, it's probably a good size, isn't it? It's not too big, but not too small. And you've also got a good range of experience across the group, I guess, that you can call on from the different sort of group companies.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it really helps having Amazon expertise in house, for example. Retail media is the next wave, and having people that live and breathe it every day is it's been a huge learning curve. So yeah, things like that are great, and over the years we've done all kinds of different things in different countries, and we've still some of that hasn't worked. Germany didn't work, Sweden didn't work, but we've still got teams in small team in the US, small team in Dublin. So Again, experiencing those other markets is great too.
Nice, nice. I think you mentioned the Alliance for Media Independence. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so that's been the most um, unexpected and exciting journey over the last year or so. As the specialist works, like a lot of independent agencies, are quite friendly with each other, and we used to get together and compare notes. It kind of started in COVID, with maybe half a dozen or more other media agencies. Um, Obviously, no one shared anything sensitive, but we, just see how we were finding the market. Back in the COVID days, it was, what's your staff sentiment? What are you doing about furlough? All that kind of stuff. And actually, we ended up realizing that we quite liked each other, and it was nice to get together and just share experiences. Sometimes it's just nice to know that you're not the only one that's having a problem with this or that. Um, so that stuff was really good. But we also had a bit of an itch that we didn't scratch for quite a long time because, as you looked around the table when we all got together on one of our occasional lunches, um, the billings that we could count between us were really significant, hundreds of millions of pounds. So we always thought we should be doing more with this, but because we didn't have any infrastructure and everyone was busy with the day job and the markets hasn't been easy for years, as you know, as everybody knows. Um, we didn't do anything with it until the Alliance of Independent Agencies, which represents any kind of marketing services agencies. They got over 100 full members, all kinds of different things from creative to experiential to PR to you name it. Um, they said we can do all of that back office. We can give you all of the infrastructure and support, bring partners along, organize events, run the membership side of things. So we joined forces. We knew media, they knew membership organizations. We launched about 13 months ago now. And when we launched, we had nothing. We had a few agencies that said, "Yeah, we'll come along and see how this goes." I think there were 10 at that point. Um, and we're now at 35 agencies. I think we're well north of 1.6 billion in terms of combined billings, and it started to become a thing. So it's exciting already. I think we're doing some interesting stuff. But what we can do together, you get a bunch of entrepreneurs working together, and the opportunities just keep coming. It's super exciting from that point of view.
Yeah, I imagine. And is there anything that you can tell us about that's coming up from that, or is it all sort of hush hush at the moment?
Well, some bits I'm not allowed to say, and I shouldn't say because they're not done yet. But we've got, I mean, in terms of just in terms of the partners that we're working on the, if you like, the media side of things. I mean, that's names like uh, ITV, a lot of the big outdoor companies, Reach, Google, Amazon, Snapchat. We're doing all kinds of really exciting things from that point of view, and the kind of things that we're doing, the kind of engagement we're getting. None of our agencies, not even the Seven Stars, who are the biggest indie in the country, could get the same level of engagement, the same level of additional value and special offers that they're willing to put in uh, to grow that indie spend. So that there's that whole side of things, and then there's the whole business side of things because we're all independently owned businesses, which is the other big difference between an indie and a um, and a large PLC is we're all business owners, right? It what happens in our business really counts. So the thing we're really excited about now is we've just done an amazing deal with a provider called Nexus for trade credit insurance, um, for AMI members, where we think we can save anywhere between half to maybe even up to 90% in terms of insurance premiums, for some agencies for this essential um, insurance that you need to insure that media spend. So that just adds bottom line money back into our businesses. That makes us stronger, more powerful, more profitable, more bonded, and it's really starting to feed itself. So watch this space, and I'll let you know when we've got the next lot of stuff to shout about. But honestly, the pipeline's really exciting.
Nice, very exciting. Yeah, I think the having been involved in a small agency myself, I know how important the insurance side of things is, and how difficult it can be for small agencies. So it's great you guys are helping in that. Um, cool. And you've spoken a lot about the momentum behind independent agencies at the moment on a couple of other podcasts you've done recently. So for you, like, what's genuinely changed in the last couple of years that makes now feel different from the previous cycles of optimism around independent agencies?
Yeah, no, I think a few things have changed, or not changed is the wrong word. I think things have developed. Um, so COVID felt like a bit of a kind of a watershed moment in all kinds of different ways, and I think this is one of them. And if you look pre-COVID, um, indies, we had to battle for everything. You know, nothing. In our sales parlance, you know, the window was shut. Nothing ever flew in through that. Um, but now we have indie only pitch lists as a matter of course. I mean, it almost leads to slightly kind of elephant in the room moments when some of the indie agencies or the Amy agencies are getting together with each other, because we're sitting there and I know that you're pitching for the same thing I'm pitching against, and so she, and we all know it, but no one mentions it obviously, because why would you? We all just want to beat the other one. Um, but the very fact that there are no networks on that pitch list has entirely changed. It used to be that on that pitch list you'd have, the usual suspects. There would be three or four network agencies, and quite often an intermediary would say, "We want to show them what an indie looks like," which is code for you're probably not going to win this, guys. But we want to show that we're covering the market. That's unfair.
Yeah, we've all
They
been there.
knew that we brought a point of difference. Um, but look, the way that clients thought, and this is the thing that's changed. The way that clients thought was that the safe thing to do was to go with a recognizable name. I remember getting that feedback, where you've blown the doors off on a pitch and they say, yeah, but the US haven't heard of you, and they've heard of, you know, agency X because they're also in New York. Therefore, they've appointed them. Um, that doesn't happen anymore, because I think what clients are finding is, for a whole variety of different factors, if they're spending between £2 and £30 million, they probably shouldn't be at a network. All other things being equal, that's the kind of size where you can get the best out of an indie, but you haven't got a hope of getting the best out of a network. If I were running a network and I had an account worth 200 million, one worth 20 million, I know where I'll be putting my best people, my best time. I know where the greatest resource would go. I know who would be able to drive the innovation on their account. And it wouldn't be the £20 million spender, let alone the £2 million spender. And I think a lot of clients, through experience, are finding that actually the safe route is going to be the indie route, because you get all of those things that indies are famous for, which really count now, like service, continuity, senior people on your team, a tech stack that's built without any other aim in mind other than to deliver value to our clients. You've got the dynamic where if you're a UK based client or any domestic client in any territory, um, you're probably going to be better off, unless you're huge, Tesco or whatever, you're probably going to be better off with an indie anyway, because the unwritten agreement is, contracts aside, at any time you can choose not to work with us. So we're proving ourselves every single day to you. Um, but if you're the London office of McDonald's, well, you're working with a network global agency for your network global brand, and it's an entirely different game that's being played there. So I think all of these things are happening now. And look, look at the brands that are coming over to indies now, and I'm talking about media indies here now, as opposed to creative or whatever. There used to be a kind of a scale bar, if you like, and the bar was maybe set at 20 or 25 million. I think that just gets pushed higher and higher, because tech is helping us compete, certainly in terms of um, uh, availability of data, clean rooms coming onto the market, you name it. You would answer that much better than me, to be honest with you, Gareth. But certainly, you know, working with the likes of Audience Store, we feel we can compete against anything the networks can offer on a like for like basis. So all of those things that used to mean I need to go to a holding company agency are being knocked over one by one. And the thing that's really winning out is the people side of things as well, because brains still matter.
Definitely, like you say, obviously the networks are going to prioritize their bigger accounts, and when you get to that sort of size, they have to do that quite ruthlessly, right? And whereas for an indie, like you say, that sort of size account can be massive. So they're going to put their best
Definitely.
people on it. They're going to service it. You're probably going to have founder involvement. So I think you're definitely correct that those sort of size clients are going to get the best from an indie. So when this is just so kind of moving on to what clients want. So when clients talk about wanting transparency and trust, which again maybe they're not getting so much from a network,
Mm.
what do you think they're really reacting against in the current agency model, and maybe particularly the networks?
Well, I think you're leading me with that question into certain areas. I'll happily wander along into them. That's all good. Look, I think well, I've told this anecdote before, but I think it bears repetition. Look, there's a client that we wanted a specialist works a couple of years ago, whose network agency at the time uh, came onto their quarterly call with a manager level person being the most senior person on the account. Um, so start counting the things that are wrong. Quarterly call, manager level, most senior. And but the killing part of it was, that this poor person dropped a bombshell which said we put you on radio for this quarter because we needed it for our deal. That was the bit they shouldn't have said. As soon as you hear that as a client, and clients talk to each other, they're all in networks. And I think this is starting to spread out because all of this stuff that, 10 years ago, the ANA report came out saying um, there are all kinds of shady trading deals. Um, and I think the market's starting to realize now that all of the factors are coming together. So if you've got um, deals that you have to service because you've made commitments, if you own a tech stack where you make higher margins than you do for your media business, if you as they're all fighting each other to do now, getting deep into the proprietary media game, I think that one's going to get blacker and inkier and stinkier, frankly, as more and more gets uncovered about that. But all of those are reasons why your agency cannot uncompromisingly put you first. And it doesn't matter that the people are very good or very committed, etc. If the tools that they're working on, as some whistleblowers have indicated, are preloaded to prioritize the media that they've pre-bought, where does that leave you? Right? You might get good media, but then we go back to who's going to get the best of that media, that £200 million spender, the 20 million, the 2 million. The cards are stacked against you if you are one of the thousands of mid-size advertisers in the UK to get the best out of a network. And that's even just on the pure delivery side. Start thinking about service. You start not just thinking about reactive service, but proactive service. People that, I mean, it sounds like a cliche, but it's true, right? I sit amongst these people. They live and breathe the business. They really care. They spend time thinking about it. They're looking for what isn't in the brief. They, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm on Teams groups where people are pinging um, audience insight details to each other, saying you might find this useful for that client or that client. I'm not saying that doesn't happen within the networks. Of course it does. Loads of our people come from networks. But when they come, what they universally express is this freedom to be able to do what they think is the right thing, right? That's the thing that brings them to the indie side in the first place and keeps them there. Um, so all of that, I'm rambling slightly, but I think I've answered your question. All of that,
I
I
think you have.
think, is why clients are treating transparency as such a huge, important thing now.
I think it plays nicely into, you were talking about obviously the agency trading deals. Like you say, those mid-sized clients when they go to networks, they're getting attracted by the rates that maybe the networks can offer because of those very trading deals. But like you say, they probably have to ask the question: are they the ones that are going to benefit from that? Or are they being, for example, like you said about the radio example, are they being given media on the basis of what works for the agency and probably the bigger clients in that agency to meet their deal requirements, but doesn't work best on plan. So I think it feeds nicely into what you were saying actually about sort of mid-sized accounts being better off working with independents.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
obviously,
Yeah, I mean, if a client only wants almonds and walnuts, the fact that a bag of mixed nuts is cheaper, than a bag of almonds or walnuts doesn't help the
it's a
client in
great
any
analogy.
way.
It's a very good analogy. Yeah, yeah. Completely agree. And so, obviously, with the work that you're doing with the Alliance of Media Independents,
Hmm.
you're working closely with agency leaders, as you outlined there, and media owners as well. But where do you think independent agencies are kind of underestimating their own power at the moment?
Well, that's a really interesting question. And I would say we're doing that less now, as of 13 months ago. Um, what's really nice, and look, you know what this is like when you launch something, you start off with a theory. You think the market's going to want this because, and then maybe they do, maybe they don't. I've launched all kinds of stuff that they didn't, which which is absolutely fine. That's part of the territory. But what's been lovely about the Amy thing is we thought the market really wants indies to succeed. Um, they know that because all the reasons we said clients like the media owners and other suppliers like indies too, because we'll try always to do the right thing. You're not going to have the rug pulled out from under you if you've got good media and you've put together a good package and the pricing's good. You should expect to be able to convert that business and therefore grow. Um, all salespeople need that. Uh, so we thought, okay, we bring that versus the networks and individuals detriment. They can't make those kind of, think about the TV market, right? That's an annually traded deal, and then it's pretty much managed for the other 364 days a year. But uh, the indies can grow, right? And can grow really significantly. And as we win bigger clients, we champion the full stack of media, giving brand its correct weighting, we believe, versus some of the networks where I know, if 85% of their spend goes towards the big four, in terms of digital and performance media. Um, that can't be right for the long term growth of any client. Um, so uh, again, we've had a lot of support from those media owners. Um, the rest of the market's really excited as well. You've got people doing really exciting things in things like programmatic. in areas of data, DMPs, and so on. There's all kinds of very exciting things coming to market, and they know that the people that will give them time and are likely to innovate earliest are the indies too. So as we went to market, we thought we could be onto something here. This could grow quite quickly. It's grown so fast. I mean, we almost haven't had the time. In fact, I don't think we have had the time to knock on anyone's door. We're still a year later dealing with people knocking on ours. Um, we've got some brilliant people from across our agency membership base who've taken control of key areas like digital data and ad tech and media, planning and effectiveness, finance people, marketing and new business. All of them are bursting with ideas and opportunities. And we've almost given ourselves the problem now that there's so much there. We're having to build a whole new internal website so that people can have a directory of all the opportunities that we have, um, all of which feed either financial value, uh, added value, new opportunities, test opportunities, pitch support for agencies, international options. All that stuff is available for the members now. And honestly, it's come together in the last 12 months. It's been crazy. Um, so, do we underestimate our power? I think we still do. But every year that goes by, I think we'll say that less and less.
Certainly through initiatives like the Alliance of Media Independence, right? Brilliant. Okay, cool. And
Agreed.
bit of an interesting one coming at it from a slightly different angle here. So, if you were a CMO today, choosing between a big global network and a strong independent, what questions would you be asking that most pitches still avoid?
Okay. That's a really interesting question. I like that one. Um, okay. Well, look, I think there are some really obvious ones, but we don't always get asked them by any means at all. The reality of those 2 to 30 million pound spending brands is that versus the largest brands, investment into the brand is something that is the boardroom needs to um, be of one mind about, right? If you're Tesco or Aviva, you know the power of brand, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be Tesco or Aviva by now. But we need to in a very very real world way take brands on that journey in a very difficult environment. Like no one's suggesting these are easy decisions. Um, so I think we should be asked more often, not only about the campaign tasks, but also about show us how you support the creating um, a perception of value and an understanding of the value that marketing can bring amongst my colleagues around the boardroom table. I think that's a really, really good leading question. I think CMOs, on hearing the different answers from that, will start to see a differentiation in agencies that they might not see in quite the same way when you're talking about the detail of one particular area of media planning or buying. Um, so I think that would be a good one. We absolutely should talk about AI. Um, and I think again, you see indies and networks drifting. They're like galaxies drifting away from each other. I think AI is one of the ways you're seeing that. Barely a day goes by without hearing about this new number of thousands that a network is going to shed in terms of headcount. We've seen in some of the accounts that have come to pitch over to the indie side, the entire kind of central um, service layer stripped out of teams. So you've got a group account director supported by relatively junior staff, and there's no one to do the middle bit because the narrative that those PLCs have to promote is that AI is going to make us um, a different kind of business, more streamlined, less reliant on expensive people, etc. Some CMOs may want that, but I suspect most of them, certainly in that 2 to 30 million bracket, will be more the other side. Certainly, we've been challenged at the Specialist Works. We've been challenged by some of our clients saying, I want to know what your approach to AI is, because if you're telling me it's going to help you reduce headcount, I'm going to pitch tomorrow. If you're telling me that you want to use AI in a smart way to support the people that I value to do the higher value work and free them up, give them better management information, better automated reporting, and all of those things that will allow me to get more out of them, then I'm on board with you. So I think that's the kind of question that certainly from when I talk to my colleagues internally, they're not really hearing that one yet in pitches, but are hearing it, as I said, from some of our existing clients. So I think that one's going to come. Um, so yeah, those would be probably two of them.
Yeah, so it's really interesting what you said there about CMOs' reaction to AI and not necessarily wanting it to just sort of contribute towards the bottom line directly,
Mm,
more to free up people for higher level work, which can add value. And it would be very
yeah.
interesting to see, because I guess you'll get some agencies and providers that go one way, and their clients, and then you'll get some that go the other. And it would be interesting to see who wins out in the market, right? Because you could see that if there's value to
Um,
be had from freeing people up to actually do that high level work for clients, those clients will win out and those agencies will win out, right? But then if there's value in terms of just cost cutting, getting down to the nitty gritty, that's going to win out. It'd be very interesting to see how it goes in the next few years. I, from a personal point of view, I'm hoping for the higher level work because, yeah, having been an agency and been in the industry for a long time, obviously I think there's a lot of value that's currently being locked in standardized, just process like reporting, etc., Excel management,
mm,
all of those sorts of things that really
yeah.
it's just a time sap for people, whereas they could be much better deployed coming up with more creative strategies for how to execute a proper media campaign. And those are things that probably AI will, it's got a way to go before it will be able to do something as innovative as what a good media planet buyer will be able to do with the budget, right? It will probably just come up with sort of more standard sort of campaign ideas, whereas somebody who's been in the industry, planning buying for sort of 10 years, or a media trader who's been executing programmatic campaigns for the same number of years, they've got a wealth of experience that they can apply, which maybe at the moment they're having their time sapped by reporting and all the other things that AI is going to automate. So maybe they can actually free themselves up to deploy that experience and
Yeah.
get more from the media budget. So it'd be interesting to
Yeah,
see.
I think you're totally right. Look, and take it out of our industry, right? The one of the most exciting potential use cases for AI is in medicine, right? Um, if you've got uh, uh, a piece of kit powered by AI that can do a very fast, very thorough analysis of a scan, that's an amazing thing. That's an incredible tool. How happy would you be if no doctor were then involved in that diagnosis and recommending a treatment plan? How's that going to feel? Um, I don't think I'd be very happy with that.
Bit
And look
nervous.
at well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Plus, also, you're a person. We're people. Everyone's a person. Um, just to state the obvious. But look, for clients, the people part of it is so important. You think about the environment that clients are working in. Again, I keep framing it in this 2 to 30 million pound spend, but you're talking about, you're not talking about marketing teams in the hundreds there, like you might be in one of the big banks or whatever. You're talking about marketing teams in the 20s, tens, fives, twos. They've got pressure on headcount. They know what that means in terms of what they can achieve. One of the outlets, one of the reasons why they can absorb that is because they've got trusted agencies in key areas who are able to absorb some of that and actually give some of that value back that maybe might have been done at some points by a member of their in-house team. Um, Plus, even if you've got a big in-house team, right? We've got big digital advertisers and specialist works, we might have 100 people or more in some of their um, uh, execution and kind of day-to-day optimization teams across the obvious digital platforms. But what they don't have is someone who can come in with the strategic view based on a whole market overview, the fact that they get every significant supplier in on a regular basis, the kind of stuff that again, unless you are an absolutely huge company, I don't know, maybe Vodafone can do this with if they've got an in-house team or whatever. But unless you can get that from your agency, you're not getting it, which basically means increment by increment you fall behind. So I think we're going to be talking about AI for a long time, but certainly what I can tell you right now is that we've got no client coming and asking us how good our AI capabilities are when they're seeing what difference we can make to their business.
Fabulous. Yeah, like I say, hopefully it's going to be a positive impact on the industry. And looking ahead a few years for the indies, what's the biggest risk for the indie movement if it doesn't succeed, apart from obviously sort of failure of the businesses?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, we're feeling pretty bullish in terms of that. I think generally the sentiment I pick up from members is that it's a difficult market, but people are doing all right. There's and everyone is telling me that they're pitching more than they can remember having pitched for a long time. So those things are positive. What do I think from an Amy point of view? Looking quite a long way into the future, our problems might be. I want to think they will be. I've got to touch wood when I say this, but I think they might be the problems of success. At the moment, what's really nice is how it feels. Everyone's getting to know each other. The owners didn't know each other before. The digital specialists is creating a network, and that all of those kinds of things are being replicated across the businesses. That's lovely. If we get 5, 10 times bigger, then we'll have the problem of trying to keep all of that whilst at the same time building out our scale. Um, I don't know whether we can get 5 or 10 times bigger. We've already got 9 of the top 10 biggest independent agencies as members. So, in terms of billings, I think we'll probably hoover up most, if not all, of the independent billings in the industry because people will see the sense in joining if they haven't already. As I say, most of them have. What's been great though is meeting all of the younger, smaller indies, a lot of them outside London, where it's my failing, but I didn't. I knew there was a vibrant scene in Leeds and Manchester and the west of England and Northern Ireland. I didn't know these guys, and they're starting to find us now. Like that's fantastic. So we will have those problems of scale. We've got to get across all of the regions. We've got to make sure everyone feels involved. And we might have the problem of having too many deals. So we've got to make sure that that we vet them very carefully on the way in, make sure that all deals are absolutely top quality. Everything's presented in the right way and is easily accessible to the members. So look, I think they're all what they call high class problems.
Those are good
I, I,
problems to have.
I feel bullish, and I don't. That makes me uncomfortable, but I can't see any reason not to at the moment.
I like the positivity. Brilliant. We've talked about AI and the potential impact of that. But what's one assumption about the future of media agencies that you think the industry is getting completely wrong right now?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I mean, the immediate answer. It sounds like I'm just here to bash the networks, which kind of am, I suppose. But I'll just go back to the fact, I mean, this morning I read WPP are going to save another £500 million pounds in staff costs. You've had numbers like 8,000, 7,000. Over the last week coming from one um, network agency or another. Those are highly trained, experienced professionals. Um, I don't know how a business makes itself stronger by stripping out all of that, uh, all of that asset to such an extent. Um, it's certainly not something that I'm aware of happening anywhere in the indie sector, whether that be amongst media agencies in Amy, or amongst my colleagues in the wider alliance of independent agencies. Um, Actually, it feels like we're swimming in a different direction, which is much more towards what we were talking about getting the most out of people, and actually um, doing that not only from a tech point of view, but also really doubling down on things like culture, the feeling of positivity and momentum that's built in the agencies. Every one of these agencies that I'm lucky enough to visit now, you just get a nice feeling when you walk through the door, and it's not what I hear about the networks. I don't visit them, but people use some quite rude words about how it feels in networks at the moment, and I
I
just
hear
don't
they
recognise
often
that.
have quite nice offices. That's what I hear. The offices are nice.
I have absolutely no doubt about that. I'm sure their offices are. I would have massive office envy, but look, give us our a small but bijou office in Angel, filled with happy people. I'll take that over a glitzy office with people who don't want to be there. I've done
Agree.
that
I
in
think
big
it's
companies, and it's no fun.
sure. Yeah, I agree to a certain extent, and I think it's quite interesting. You mentioned it does feel that the agencies are sort of going in the direction that we talked about in terms of cutting costs, kind of like towards the sort of McDonald's model of media, like low cost, churn it out. But how do you feel walking into, like, say, how do you to use an analogy? How do you feel walking into a McDonald's versus walking into a nicely run independent restaurant where they're going to treat you right? It's kind of that difference, and it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see, like I say, which model wins out with this AI, the advent of AI in the industry.
Well,
So cool.
I think I think they sorry, just to come back on that very, very briefly. I think what gets thrown out in that potential model, right? It's not working anywhere. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't exist at the moment. It's this kind of Gen I takes over from humans thing. Omar Oakes talks about this. It's like, anyone give me an example. He says, like, no one's come up with one yet. It's all just this theory that's to become currency. Um, so look, I don't see that. But the thing, if you follow that to its conclusion, the thing that ceases to become valuable is what we would say is the most valuable thing, which is the whole idea of strategic and comms planning being the starting point for anything you then express through media. All of this is pushing us to a place where the outcome is already um, predetermined, right? It's some form of addressable. The majority of it, and the increasing majority of it, we go into the biggest four or five um, games in the world, Google's and Amazon's, and we know all the other guys are. But none of that. We know all of the marketing um, uh, kind of canon talks about how you have to be able to understand your consumer, invest in your brand, understand what is going to drive long term sustainable value in your business. Media is an enormous part of that, because that's where so much of the money gets spent. And I can just see, especially those mid-sized companies, the 2 to 30s, uh, starting to fall into a hole and just falling behind the bigger and bigger guys. But with that proper planning focus, they can reverse that. Actually, their spend starts to become more powerful. Every pound they spend is worth every pound that their larger more established competitors are spending, and it's the way that they gain share and gain create upticks in all of the key metrics in their business when it's done in a sympathetic way. So that's the thing that sorry, I feel like you've rattled my cage. That's the thing that seems so nonsensical to me, because the thing that is the value that clients are looking for is exactly the thing that ceases to exist in that picture. And the idea that you have two or three people in an agency pulling levers and pressing buttons and you still get the same result, I don't buy it.
Agree, definitely agree. Brilliant. So, uh, what we like to do is round off the podcast
Mm.
with some quick fire questions. So, first of all, your favorite brand in the media space, obviously apart from What's Possible Group.
Okay. Definitely not allowed What's Possible group, no? Okay. All right. I'll take that as a no. Um, I'm going to say it because all voices in support of this organisation at the moment, I think, are timely and welcome. It's the BBC. I think the BBC is an incredible thing. I think it drives standards. I think it sets the national mood and conversation in a way that nothing else does. I think it's a uniquely British thing that I'm as proud of as I am of the NHS. And it's a media company. And the fact that it's not one that we can advertise on um, actually is a good thing. We've got plenty of places to advertise. We're not short of those. What we need is quality media, quality journalism, quality content making to be championed and looked after. So BBC.
Very interesting. There's not many people advocating for the BBC at the moment, so that's a good one. And an individual in the space you'd like to give a shout out to, and why?
Well, so that's just totally personal. I want to shout out Paul Phelps, the CEO of AMS Media, who is my partner in crime, my co-founder of Amy, and without whom Amy would 100% not, probably not exist, and certainly not be what it is today. Because I've never met anyone who loves it so much. He's always smiling. He's full of energy. He gets really excited by everything that we're doing. His enthusiasm rubs off on absolutely everybody else, myself included. And it's been an absolute kind of later career pleasure to form a close partnership with someone from another business. So, Paul, keep doing what you're doing, mate. Here's my shout out.
Great, shout out to Paul there. And your number one lesson learned over your time in the media industry, if you had to pick one.
Well, you suggested you might ask me this question, so I've been having a little think about that one, and I've got loads of potential answers. Um, but I think the most important one, which anyone who's worked with me over the years will be bored of hearing, is I think we should always remember that the business we're in is the client happiness business. Um, Happy clients treat their partners uh, like you're on a voyage together. And the latest bit of good news or bad news is much less important than the fact that there is trust and a multi-layered relationship built up over time between two teams trying to achieve the same goal. That makes clients happy. So we invest a lot of time trying to make sure that we know whether they are or not. You know, we've got at the specialist works, we've got an amazing guy, Mark Connolly, who spends his whole time talking to our clients and trying to understand what's going on in their world and how we can be better partners for them. Uh, and I think that has only reinforced that contention that the most important thing we can do is not last month's results. although we're always going to try and make last month's and next month's results as good as we possibly can. It's actually to treat clients like people, to invest in them and their careers, and build for the long term based on a happy, productive relationship.
It's a refreshing take in a world of automation and AI and everything else that we're going through. It's a very refreshing take. So yeah, Martin, it's been a real pleasure. We've gone a bit longer than we usually do, but that's because there's so much good content here. Really appreciate you coming on, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Cheers, Martin.
All the best.